I'm gonna do a lot of like sniffing.
Like on purpose? Like it's not because you're sick or anything. That's your new
No,
thing
I
for this
am.
season.
I'm sick. That's the thing.
I just thought it was going to be like your new catchphrase. Like you're trying to develop new things as we go into this brand new season of You'll Never Talk Alone. And like your catchphrase thing was going to be to get really close to the mic and
No,
go.
it's like
on Community when Pierce is trying to teach Troy how to sneeze and he uses the different types of sneezes. That's what
Yes.
Zach is doing with his sniffs.
This is how you command a room.
yeah.
I think the Orioles are going to win it all this year.
This is a brand new season of You'll Never Talk Alone. And this right here is the point in which we started recording the episode. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I'm Joseph Craven, joined by the OGs, Zach Osborne, Alex Level, and of course, that young gun himself, Andrew Ainsworth. Gentlemen, all at once, tell me how you're doing. Go.
Ecstatic.
Absolutely wonderful.
Why is it that one of you always just makes a noise? Like, everyone else actually says something, and then one person just decides it's their time to make a noise. I'm not saying I hate it. I'm just curious what the rationale is. That's all.
I wouldn't call was a noise.
It's a state of being.
It's a cultural entity, and I just kind of ignored it. And that's on me more than anyone else. This is brand new season. We're leading up to the, oh, gosh, right, this is, what, year 4 of the podcast? Year 3? Is that right? Year 4?
Yeah.
Year
I
4.
think so, yeah.
That doesn't seem right. We really should be more successful by now than we actually are. What have we been doing
We're
wrong?
big in Norway, right?
I don't know where we are anymore. I think they've caught on by now.
Hey, to all our Norwegian listeners, I apologize if that's what they say in Sweden instead.
Tell yourself whatever you need to.
Whatever makes you feel more comfortable with this entirely awkward podcast at this point. Woo! Summertime is drawn to a close. What do we have? 2 more preseason friendlies before the season actually starts. Is that right, Alex?
Yeah, with those god dang Italians.
Wow.
Whoa.
He's allowed to say that. He lived there for a while.
Oh, okay.
I'm
My
just
bad.
kidding, I love
It's like my friend who claimed to support Portugal in the World Cup like 4 years ago when the U.S. had to like play them. And was just like, oh, I lived there for a while. Like they were there for about a month and a half, tops. I'm like, I get it. Don't be that person. Anyway,
Right.
I'll let
Yeah.
you sit.
It's like people that go to mission trips to Peru.
Right, exactly. So everyone we've ever met.
Mhm.
We have what was a huge summer. I mean, we haven't recorded anything since our new goalkeeping signing.
Yeah, congratulations, Joseph.
Yes, we haven't recorded anything since I signed as the new goalkeeper. I'm a huge Oasis fan. So there's just so much going on here, and I'm pretty much going to open up the floor to start things off here. And I'm going to turn it over to Alex, but I mean, normally we go alphabetical order, so if it just falls that way, whatever, that works out. But Alex, start things off here. Was this the most successful summer so far that we've had in how many years? I guess, you could put a year total on that, but how successful has this summer been considering we were like, we have a wish list of what we want. And so far we've gotten almost everything.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. We've filled the gaps. We've gotten everything we've needed. We've added a keeper that is no longer an issue. We have a defined number 1. We've added depth. We've added people who can rotate. So, yeah, it's not even depth. It's rotation. And that's something we're going to have to face when we have all these competitions. It's definitely been the best window of at least the past 10 years, if not longer. I mean, we're killing it. And, yes, we missed out on one of our main targets, but there's still, 6-7 days left in the transfer window, so there's still time. So I've been incredibly pleased with our business. And if you look at some of the prices we might get for outgoings, too, that is just 8 out of 10 transfer window so far. I mean, we are ripping some people off both ways.
Is this, could anything in the past several years that any of you remember come close to this at all?
No.
Not all at once, no. Not
No.
like this.
You know, I was really excited when Balotelli was coming, but we saw how that turned out.
I mean, Christian Poulsen had me hyped.
Yep.
Paul
Yep.
Konchesky. Got to give him a shout out.
Mm.
And his mom.
And his mom. That's still one of the strangest stories.
She really hated Scousers.
Yeah, she couldn't stand it. We talked about that at some point in the summer, didn't we? In like a text message thread, I
Well,
think.
Yeah,
here's the rule. If
Yeah.
Paul Konchesky ever comes up, I
Right.
brought it up.
Okay.
that's true.
So when I say we talked about it, I mean, hey, Zach, you talked about it at some point this summer, right?
And you guys just like humored me. Because I'm like, one time Roy Hodgson was our manager and he brought in Paul Konchesky. And then his mom got angry at Liverpool when we got mad at Paul Konchesky for sucking.
Is that like the bedtime story that you tell your kid at night?
She doesn't understand yet, but there's a general sadness.
Conveying the feeling.
Yeah, more than anything else, she knows that.
Yeah.
She goes to sleep, one single tear running down her cheek,
Right.
and that's like, all right, good night. You can rest well.
She can say, what?
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of Woy, FIFA the game needs to rethink their marketing for the new dynamic tactics, because I logged on and they were advertising it on the main menu and they were showing a video and they had Roy Hodgson explaining it. And it's like, that is not the shining example of someone who is going to be changing his tactics on the fly. So maybe pick someone else.
Did they just kind of like do a quick Google search for like managers that really aren't up to anything right now and just found him and were like, yeah, sure.
You've got some free time.
Well, what about the other two of you that are here? What do you think as far as like where would you rate this summer so far? Before we get into some of the details of everything that has gone on, but how would you rate it?
Andrew, you mind if I go first?
You can go.
I have been saying for years that it was super important that Liverpool sign a keeper who was already world class. The day
you've been saying it since
arrived.
before, like predating the podcast. Like every now and then you would just text me on like a random Tuesday afternoon and go, "Hey man, I really think this." And
I
I'm
mean,
like,
I got excited about Karius because the situation felt so dire at the time that I was willing to look to this younger guy who, you know, people would use the word potential and upside and, you know, development and growth. And like, you know, all respect to Karius, he had a phenomenal season in the Bundesliga before he came. But, you know, if I really look at what I thought Liverpool needed for so long, Karius did not necessarily fit that description because he was not sort of universally recognized as a world-class keeper on day one. And I have believed for a while, 4 or 5 seasons, that was a really important piece that we needed to add. And pretty early in the summer, I became really confident that we were not going to make that happen. And so when Allison sort of materialized out of the ether in like a 3 to 4 day period, it just like had me over the moon, and I'm still there. Like it's phenomenal for us.
Andrew, you feeling the same way?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think if even Keith comes in even after we had made the deal in January, but even without him, if I don't consider him, I'd still say that we had a great summer just because we got 2 amazing players out of it, and we got a great backup in Shaqiri, who first goal you can't deny. Holy
Fire emoji.
yeah, seriously. And all the players are you know, together, and everything feels so right now.
It's like when Jurgen Klopp was hired, we could feel like this ball of momentum start. And right now is the moment that it's all at 150 miles an hour. Like everything is falling into place. It's not just that Jurgen has gotten, you know, the players he wanted He's gotten like the results that he's wanted so far. They're starting to really click and play as the type of team he wanted. They're even like just getting along well, like following up with the, the bromance of Dejan Lovren and Mohamed Salah on social media is hilarious. Just to have all of that going on, now to also have other transfers falling into place. Securing the Keita or the Keith deal, I think as Andrew just called it. Securing that before the season even ends, being able to pull in a defensive mid, which we've said for a while is a major need.
Bringing in nowhere too,
and who was wanted by everybody.
Yeah, totally unexpected, true defensive mid signed, and then to get the goalkeeper that seemed to be on everyone's list by the end of the season. I mean, everything right now does seem to be falling our way. The ball of momentum has reached like top speed, and it just seems like we're going to come flying into this season at just full speed already, which is so exciting. Alex, I'm going to get you to, as the resident scout / tactician, aka the only guy that we feel like actually understands the sport well enough to talk about the technical stuff. Tell us a little bit about what makes Alisson Becker such an in-demand goalkeeper, because there were some stats that came out about like his performance against like shots.
I've been checking out her IMDb, and it's like really impressive.
I mean, she was a part of one of my favorite web series, Main Street, that ESPN produced, starring Kenny Mayne a while back. So
wow, that's a deep cut.
It's probably the most hipster thing I can say is that I was a huge fan of Ben Schwartz. Ben Schwartz, Alisson Becker, and Aubrey Plaza were all in this web short called Main Street years ago. And I was a huge fan of it back then. So that's what I got. But Alex, what makes him so in demand, considering like not a whole lot of people probably keep up with Roma as closely, or the Italian league as closely in general, if you're a Premier League fan. So what do other teams see in him?
Well, one, he's just really good at his job. He's well-rounded.
You can't sum that up in statistics. Sometimes you just watch a player and you're like, that dude's good.
He just got that intangible. He'll just go out there and hit you.
Factor.
He will just take the ball and just run it to the end zone. But really, he there's no discernible weaknesses in his game. Like I can't think of anything that he's not very good at, other than not having been on our team until recently. That's probably his biggest weakness. But he's a great shot stopper. He commands his area, claims crosses, great distribution, great vision. He started over Ederson for Brazil. Like that's kind of all you need to know if you haven't watched much of Roma outside of the Champions League. But he's also great with his feet, and especially how we like to play. We like to play on the front foot. He'll come out. He'll even take people on. He will clown some people. There was a funny tweet that Roma put out, that the official handle, as everyone knows, they're incredible. But Alisson was on the team of the week, and they gave his dribbling like 53, and they zoomed in on it and were like, what? And then they just showed all these clips of him just Cruyffing and dinking it over people. So he's so confident. He will foil well with Van Dijk commanding the back line. He'll be on the front foot. He'll cut off those counterattacks as our back line likes to push forward. He'll be able to distribute out of the back. He'll make smart decisions. He won't necessarily look to throw when it's not on, which is what our keepers have done in the past. And he's a weapon from the back. He's like a sweeper keeper that can use his hands very well. And his reflexes are incredible. We all saw that save in training, and we've seen his saves over the past season. And if you haven't watched Roma's highlights against Shakhtar in the Champions League last year, go watch those and see how good he was. So he's everything we need, and especially everything Klopp wants from a keeper.
And do you think that it'll translate well to an entirely different league? Because I feel like there's a part of that you'd have to take into consideration, that someone can do very, very well in the league. And goalkeeping is probably one of those things that does just, translate well no matter where you are. Like I feel like maybe you're a forward and your style of play doesn't always translate from league to league to league. Otherwise, like everyone would be buying everyone from the Dutch league because everyone scores goals all the time, right? So do you think that he will be able to translate well?
I absolutely think so. He's so confident in his abilities and in his position that he won't have any trouble adjusting. And he's already settling in well. He's got a crew. There's going to be no trepidation. The only thing that might get him, which we're kind of nipping in the bud by having a friendly there, is the Anfield atmosphere. But it'll be on his side this time, so it'll boost his confidence. I don't see him getting overawed now that he's on our team.
No. I mean, we'll have to see for sure, but it does seem like he just carries himself well.
I mean, you never know with our keepers. You never know with Achterberg. Like, we think this is settled, but you've seen every one of our keepers just turn to a pile of crap after joining. But I really think he'll buck that trend.
He won't do it. He will be perfect.
Do you guys remember the movie? Was it Kung Pao Enter the Fist?
I can quote.
How could I ever forget?
Joseph.
Of course, yeah. Well, right there with his act, but the one guy that they trained wrong as a joke.
Yeah, as a joke.
That's often how I feel about our
With the squeaky
goalkeeping.
shoes.
My
Anyway,
nipples look like milk duds.
that's a lot of nuts.
End roll all night long.
I have not watched that movie since it came out in 2002.
Yeah. I tried to watch it with a friend just like a year ago. And I think the only reason we stopped is because we started it too late and both of us were like, oh my God, we got work in the morning. We got to stop. But it holds up. I'm not going to lie. It holds up.
Yeah, I mean, it was like 2-3 years ago, and it was.
We
still
got to
great.
have a watch party.
Yeah,
It's
we
funny.
do now.
Rotten Tomatoes audience, or Google audience, 93%. Rotten Tomatoes, 11%.
It's a cult classic. I mean,
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, just that whole cult uses Google.
Right. That's it. We love Google. We don't even know what Rotten Tomatoes is. I'm a member. So I guess we're all getting together in a couple of weeks, watching that and starting the season off together.
Oh,
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds great to me.
I mean, I've got a DVD copy. I don't know about you guys, but
got it on Laserdisc.
HD DVD.
I've actually got one of those weird like vinyl records that plays like a hologram image when it spins on the thing, and
Oh,
it's
yeah,
got the
perfect.
movie in it. Yeah, exactly. All right, Andrew, you mentioned the debut goal out of Xherdan Shaqiri, which was so nasty. I'm still worked up about it. I'm not over it. I'm not over it at all. Let's go into a little bit more detail with that signing. Another one that I think kind of came out of nowhere. Like the links just sort of happened, and then like a week and a half later, all of a sudden it's like, oh, by the way, we just got this dude for like 13 million, and here he is now. I actually had a friend who, when Liverpool announced the signing, and he's not even a Liverpool fan, he just is like a soccer fan and follows a bunch of teams. When they announced the signing on like Instagram, he just tagged me in it and just went, wait, what? Like, he was so caught off guard. But Andrew, you see this guy coming in, expected to probably be, a backup, a good sub and everything. What do you see in this signing that you like, or what do you think we'll get out of Xherdan Shaqiri?
Oh, I think we'll get a lot out of him. He's really versatile. He can play basically across the front three. He can play in the midfield. He can from goal, which is something that we've desperately needed since Coutinho left in those harder games if we can't break down teams. And we've always had that issue. So I think that's really important to have. But with 7 goals and 7 assists at Stoke, a team that didn't really score many goals last year, their strikers, I think, scored like 3. So, I mean, I think that just goes to show how good he is. If he can have 7 assists in a team that can't score, I think he can provide a lot of he can provide an out for our midfield to be able to move forward. And obviously Keith can do the same thing. So it's really exciting having them all involved. And being able to score an overhead kick against Man U in your very first game is just like a dream come true. And the memes.
Yeah, his
Huge.
web content is
Meme Lord.
He came in and from day one, he was immediately the meme lord. Like,
Yeah.
from the very first second where
Yeah.
he shot off the guns. It was just like, that's it.
And
Okay.
then he did it after the friendly, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah, he does it to the
he's
camera.
embraced it.
Yeah. But
It's perfect.
yeah, I mean, he is just the Chad of the team, and
Yes.
we love him for it.
Am I the Chad of the podcast?
Well, I mean, no doubt.
Wait, Alex,
Oh, yeah.
you already have just a Shaqiri kit?
The
No, it's
Switzerland
a
kit?
Switzerland
The
jersey.
Switzerland kit? I know, but you already had one. Like, you just were
Yeah.
like, I like this dude enough, I'm going to get his international kit.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think he's fantastic.
That's awesome. It's really cool. Yeah, he can. His versatility is of course great. Whether or not we have always used our versatile players properly over the years is up for debate. I feel like, because I feel like we always are like, yeah, this guy can do just about everything. So we're just gonna make him like his least effective position.
Right back.
Yeah, exactly.
Center back.
Yeah. God, I just want to see Shaqiri as a center back now. 5 foot nothing, 275 pounds of muscle. That seems right.
Van Dijk is just gonna throw him at people.
It's gonna be some sort of weird like Banjo Kazooie teammate thing where he just rides in a backpack on Van Dijk's back all game and just anyway.
He's a little guy.
Yeah, just a little guy. Zach, he is versatile enough to play on those like front three anywhere you need him to, as well in a more central or a more midfield position as if the time calls for it as well. One of the things that we've talked a lot about in terms of needs on the team, we've mentioned for years we need a true defensive mid for for when those situations come up. We've needed a goalkeeper. And we've also said that this season or this offseason, I mean, we badly needed to make sure we had cover for Roberto Firmino in case something happens to him. We hope and pray that it doesn't. But do you see this signing along with our current lineup the way that it is? And we haven't even really talked much about like Daniel Sturridge, for example. It seems like we're trying to hold on to him this season. But do you see us having like enough cover right now? How are you feeling comfort level wise with that situation?
Well, at some point, I guess it was our last end of the season episode or at some point early in the summer, I was asked the question, what would I need to see to consider our transfer business a success? And my two things were a world-class goalkeeper and a solid backup for Roberto Firmino. And it is, I would say, slightly disappointing that we haven't gone out and done the business and gotten someone who could slot in for Bobby if he needs a rest or, heaven forbid, he gets injured. We all wanted Fekir, and Alex mentioned earlier that he may retain a slight bit of optimism that the deal could still get done. I'm kind of the camp that if the knee looked that bad and really scared us, I tend to want to trust the club and say if Fekir's not right for us because of that reason, I'm okay with that, and I'll try to be patient because I've been so pleased with the rest of the window. I will say when it comes to Daniel Sturridge, I'm suspicious only because of his injury record, and I don't blame that on Danny. It's just been a real shame to see him struggle with injury over the past several seasons. We know the magic that he can provide. We remember just how good he was the last time he put together a really impressive campaign. He's been one of the most impressive players in preseason, and his connection with Naby Keita has been wonderful to watch. And if he can stay healthy and have a resurgence and be our impact player from the bench or our rotation player for Firmino, I would love it. I would applaud it. It would fill me with joy. I am suspicious only because of his injury record and whether he can sustain it. But I'm also just like tentatively excited about what he's been providing. Like, I have good vibes about that situation because I want to see him succeed. And if it's at Liverpool, I'm pumped about that.
It seems as though being away from the club for a little bit helped Daniel Sturridge get his head on straight. in terms of how he's approaching this season. There's been a lot. His mentality, the things he said, the way he's been behaving in social media, for example. He looks like he's glad to be back with like his friends on the team. It looks like he's willing to put in the work to fit, anywhere in that top 3, kind of where Jurgen wanted him to be. And then he said, no, I'm a center forward. I'm not anything else. There's that whole kerfuffle. If the injuries will always be an issue, but it does seem like this is a situation where Daniel Sturridge is trying to do everything he can to make the most out of this, and maybe understands his time at Liverpool is kind of hinging on whether or not he puts forth the effort, because that's been a question mark at times, whether he puts forth the effort, whether he puts forth the work to fit in where he needs to fit in. I'm with you on that, Zach. Like, I look at the way he's been acting, the way he's been playing, and the way he's been behaving, and I'm like, this could be a good thing. It could be very good for him, and in return also be good for the club. But time will kind of tell on that, because it's still preseason at the end of the day. It doesn't necessarily mean anything at all. Once the season
Right.
starts up, who knows? But let's shift gears to focus on our preseason matches so far, in particular the ones that against some of the big name teams. Of course, there was the 3-1 drop to Dortmund, but then following that, a couple of victories over the Manchester teams. Right now, we mentioned Daniel Sturridge, but there's been obviously a lot of rotation because it's preseason friendlies. Alex, is there anyone in particular that stands out to you as been having a very good preseason so far?
So there haven't really been any surprises from the senior players, I would say. Probably this person standing out the most this preseason has been Keita. He's just so good. You can't really elaborate on that. He is just absolutely world class, and he is going to light up the Premier League and light up our midfield, and I'm so excited for him. But in terms of youth players, I'd say there's been 2 that have impressed this preseason, and one is Curtis Jones, who is playing with a belief like he's been a pro for 10 years, and if he keeps it up and keeps training with the first team, he can be a very special player, I think, and definitely feature as rotation in the early parts of his career, and maybe eventually take over for one of our front 3. And I've been impressed with Rafa Camacho as well, who has been playing out of position at right back, but has been a great attacking threat when he's come in. And he combined well with Salah, especially against City. And I'd like to see him. I'm sure he'll get minutes in the cups, maybe at his proper position, maybe not. But I'm excited to see if he can kick on and potentially be a depth option.
Andrew, looking at, in particular, those 2 victories, are you seeing anything in this, maybe not on an individual performance standpoint like Alex was just talking about, but are you seeing anything about the way the team is playing together that stands out to you in a positive way? Obviously, that's 2 preseason victories against league rivals. And that kind of is what you want to pay more attention to, because like match against Dortmund, it can go one way or the other. It still is a team that we might not play at all the next year, or if we do, it might just be in another competition. So looking at the league teams, do you see something in those performances in the way Liverpool is playing as a squad that stands out to you?
I don't think there's anything specific other than that we're playing at full speed against these teams. They're starting their second string. They've got some starters peppered in there. Manchester City's missing a ton of players from the World Cup, but I mean, I think it's a good thing, obviously, to start off the season trying to win these preseason games and getting some momentum. I don't want to get hung up on them and think, that it was something necessarily special by any means, but I think it's a really good thing that we're going into the season with some momentum. Hopefully we can win these last 2 games. That second half of the Man U game did look great once we brought on, Sturridge, Shaqiri, Ojo, I think, and we linked up a lot better than the first half. But I don't really want to hold a lot of weight to these games.
Yeah, I mean, there's really only so much you can do with this, but it still is. It's always fun to beat a rival.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, especially to have a nice 4-1 victory. I was watching that match with some guys from the local American Outlaws chapter, and one of them happened to be a United fan, and so I just got to rub it in his face a little bit. And then I remember that I had basically just met him and didn't actually know the guy at all. And I was like, am I being too much of a jerk? And then Shaqiri spikes a goal in, and I'm like, I don't care.
And you kicked him in the nuts.
Yeah, I'm absolved from all this. Oh yeah. No, I drank his beer. Like, I grabbed it and was like, oh, this is mine now. Mine. That whole rant made me completely forget what I was going to ask Zach.
Oh, what?
I just like you going, mine. we could talk about how Lovren and Sturridge know what they're doing by becoming best friends.
Yeah, and Genie's been doing it too.
Yeah, it's like some fringe players are like sitting there being like, "Oh yeah, I'm best friends with this new guy here. He's the best player in our team."
It's really gonna affect him if you let me go.
You don't want to mess up this locker room here.
Yeah.
Oh, where do you think the team stands right now? I mean, we listed a few people as or at least listed what the values would be if we were to. We put value on human life, which you can read into that, everyone. No, but we did do that. What do you think it means to this team right now? The fact that there are a lot of players. Everyone, there's always been players that want to play for Liverpool, but right now it seems like the players that are on this squad want to be here because they know not just that it's a big team. They can professionally, it looks good for them, but this is also a team that is going to challenge for some stuff. Moving forward here, Zach, I mean, the team seems to be buying completely in to this mentality that Jurgen Klopp has brought in of, a little bit of that, you do a little bit of everything, not quite to the extent that you see in Dutch football, but a little bit of that. What do you think it says about the team that right now our players are, they're looking loose and relaxed, and they look like they're so happy to be there?
I mean, I think it's great. I think it's a testament to the work that Klopp is doing and just how important it is that the role of a manager in attracting players to a club and the force that he is in terms of player recruitment. And also, I just think it speaks volumes that we're at a moment where neutrals are saying this is Liverpool's year. This is Liverpool's moment. This is the season where it feels like Liverpool has built a squad that should compete for the league, that can dethrone Man City. It's not a dream to imagine that we're going to be on City's level. It doesn't feel just a little beyond our reach. It feels like now is the time. And not only are soccer fans bought into that idea, but it feels like the team really has bought into that idea. There's a level of belief that we deserve to be mentioned among Europe's elite, and that the league is there for the taking. And it is the most excited I have felt about a season going into the season that I can remember. It is basically all positive, and that means a lot coming from the most cynical member of this. I don't have a negative thing to say. I can't conjure up something to be the foil, to play that role. So I don't know. Good luck finding something. I mean, maybe when the matches start counting, we'll have something for me to be negative about. But right now, it's just like all good vibes.
Yeah, anything could change, but if you look back over the past several months, and the worst thing that can happen is we've had a player that we tried to sign, but then found an injury and tried to, what it seems like, maybe tried to lowball because we're like, oh, this guy, we it seems like we want to use it as a bargaining chip. We don't know exactly how hurt that knee actually is. It could be that his knee sucks in real life. Yeah, like who knows? But if that's kind of the worst thing that we have, is that we had this guy that we liked and we wanted to sign, and it didn't really work out. But it still could happen, and also we got like everyone else that we wanted. It's been a great summer. It's been a great summer. The question is, let's see. On Saturday we have a friendly against Napoli. Next, when's the one against Torino? Is that Tuesday?
Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah, I just found it here. Tuesday against Torino. So 2 more against a couple of Serie A opponents. 2 more friendlies before we actually, get into the English season. It also is our chance to have, I think, Alex, you point out that we're having one Anfield friendly, which will be the first time that we've been back at Anfield since the final day of the Premier League season. So we got 2 more friendlies to go here. Alex, what are you thinking we'll see here?
I'm thinking we'll see a lot of rotation again, but I'm also thinking that, especially for the second friendly, we'll see fairly close to how we're going to line up in the first match against West Ham for at least a half, if not longer, because they're going to want Klopp's going to want those players to play together in a more competitive setting than training. I'm also expecting just to see us continue that kind of breakneck speed we've had in preseason. We haven't held back. We haven't treated it like it's just a friendly. We've put the work in, and that's when you get the most out of these friendlies is when you actually take it seriously. So I'm expecting to see more of our starters playing together for longer, and I'm praying that no one gets hurt.
No kidding. Yikes. And hopefully if someone has any sort of injury that they pick up, hopefully we've done enough to kind of save a little bit of that.
And I'm hoping that we kidnap Andrea Bellotti after the Torino match and have him be Bobby's backup.
Yeah. If we just don't let him leave, then I think from a financial standpoint, he's our player now, right?
Yeah.
That's how
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You just lock him in the Anfield locker room. He can't get out. Andrew, it's been announced, and it was announced pretty early that Alisson was going to be the goalkeeper in the Napoli friendly. How important is it to go ahead and get him in the rotation, because he is fully expected to be the guy once the league starts up? So how important is it to go ahead and get him into this friendly as soon as possible?
I think it should be assumed that it's very important that he joins in. I mean, he's got to have you restart that. It is really important.
I think we've lost it at this point.
Okay, I'll do it. Yeah, it's really important that we get him playing with our center backs and get him in communication with Van Dijk. So, they've got to get their reps in, get some game time experience together. And Napoli's a really good team, and so he should get some nice saves in that game. I'm sure our defense is going to give up some with all the rotation. The one thing that I do want to gripe about for our transfers, which it comes into this preseason, is I think we need some more backup for our center backs. And without that backup, we're already playing a lot of these guys. They're going to be playing hopefully in multiple different competitions. So I would like to see us not play very many great players during this Napoli game. Like Alex was saying, for the second game, it'd be nice to see everyone come out. I don't think we're going to start every player or all of our best players against West Ham in our first game. So I don't know how important it is that everyone gets that continuity in the team moving in, just because these players probably aren't going to be playing in our first game anyways.
I mean, we're talking about rotation and everything. Zach, is there anyone that you really want to see? In fact, let's even say we'll say for these friendlies here, is there anyone you want to see get a little bit more of an extended run in these friendlies, maybe even make a push to be like our key bench players even? Because I feel like we're not expecting to see too many starters change outside of like goalkeeping. For the most part, it seems like and Keita. I feel like we're going to plug Keita in there in the starting lineup. But who else do you really want to see get some more runs in these final 2 preseasons here, Zach? And maybe make a push to be guys that get a good amount of playing time, like in the rotation leading into the season. You eyeing anyone in particular?
I mean, I am intrigued to see if Shaqiri is a legitimate option, not as a Coutinho replacement, but to play in the center attacking mid role that I really doubted him. I sort of voiced my concerns about the idea of Shaqiri being touted as a Coutinho replacement or fulfilling that role. There's been a little bit of buzz online about the possibility of a Keita, Fabinho, Shaqiri midfield on the opening day of the Premier League season. We're all like enamored with Shaqiri based on his performance against Man United. I think that has done a lot to sort of increase my belief in Shaqiri and what he could possibly do in that role. But perhaps I need to see him a little bit more just to figure out where he's actually going to be. Because for a while, since he moved from Bayern Munich, he's been the big fish in the little pond. He's been the best guy on the field with a bunch of really not great players. And now he's not in that position anymore. And he might be this untapped gem. He might be this guy who really can do wonders for us in that role, in a position we really need filled. But I don't really know. And so I would like to see that a little more before the opening day of the season. But with that being said, I think I would be excited to see him start on opening day.
It's an exciting time. We're going to have our like actual Premier League or season preview episode next week, right before we get into the start of the season. But to round out this episode here, I want to run down the line and just get you guys on a scale of 1 to 10. What's your excitement level at? Just after coming out of what we've all said is one of the best summers that we've had in a decade. What's your excitement level at heading into this season for this squad? Alex starts off.
What's our scale?
I said 1 to 10, but now I feel like I'm going to make it a full 0 to 100 scale just because you asked. So you can get really detailed with your rating.
Okay. I'm at a 125.
I love
I'm
it.
so hyped right now. Seeing all the players we brought in, beating out big teams to fantastic players, having a squad that is just completely together, having a fan base that is completely excited. It's like you go to Liverpool Twitter now, where it used to be people arguing with each other and tweeting crap back and forth. Now everybody's super excited. There's something special going on at Liverpool, and Klopp really has united the team and the fans and the entire club. And it's incredible. We've got options. We've got so many exciting players, and the only thing keeping it from being a 150 is that we didn't get Fakir. But I also think that there's no way it was just him or no one. And we've seen it before, but also it's him or no one. And now he's off the table seemingly. So there's a potential for it to go to 150 if we do bring someone in. But I'm so excited. I want to get a new kit, and I really don't know who to get. So I might just get every name on the shirt.
Get them like the first letter of all of their names put together into one brand new gibberish name.
I was going to get them on top of each other so I can't sit back in a chair because it's like 12 inches thick, like a foot thick.
Just patches on patches on patches on patches. Love it. Andrew, what's your excitement level at?
I would say 125 is really high, and I want to go higher, but I'm just going to go with a solid 100. That's the biggest number I know. 100.
You want to go higher, but you don't understand numbers.
Conceptually speaking, it's beyond you.
I mean, 100 is the biggest number. So I would say my excitement is the biggest.
We've all seen Andrew's excitement, and we all know that it's the biggest for sure. So, Zach, what you got?
I'm actually going. You probably could expect this from me. I'm gonna refuse to give you a number, and instead, I'm just gonna tell you a story, which is that I just went back to work, and
not what he asked for.
I don't care. I don't care at all.
As long as we're all clear, yeah.
We had high school registration today, and I saw a former student of mine from last year who is a soccer player himself and a very big Barcelona fan. And I engaged in smack talk with him about how good Liverpool are and how great of a summer we had, and how I have way more to be excited about as a Liverpool fan than he does as a Barca fan. And he had nothing to say to me in response other than, "You're right." And that's how excited I am about this season.
Wow. That's good.
Oh,
that's real good.
It's good.
So in Zach's standards, that's like 65, 70.
Yeah. Speechless children equals upper 60s.
Yeah, upper 60s, which is admittedly probably the highest it's ever been out of Zach. So
that's right.
Before we go, I do want to make a quick plug for, a couple of things. First of all, we just switched over podcast hosts, which means we now have a new website for the podcast that we are going to be uploading a lot more written content for, along with the episodes. And we're pretty proud. We're pretty plowed.
Pretty plaid.
We're pretty plaid about the lineup. We're pretty proud about the layout of it. Go check it out at ynta.podbean.com. That's going to give you all the episodes right there, but also a sweet banner of an angry Jurgen Klopp, which is really all anyone ever really wants out of life. Along with that, I need to plug the YNTA Fantasy League, which we have renewed. And I believe when we renewed it, it wiped all the members out. So go to our Twitter account to find the code if you want to join in on that. If you're listening to this episode and you play Fantasy Premier League on the Premier League website, go to our Twitter account. We'll tweet out that code to get into the league, and we'll go ahead and why don't we just pin that tweet? Alex, you're kind of our Twitter manager. I mean, you're the only one that remembers the password to log in. I'm assigning that to you, but we'll have it pinned to the top of the page on the account. YNTA Podcast is that Twitter account. Get on there. Join us in our fantasy. How many people did we have in last year's league? It was
30 something.
Yeah, it was 30 something people. We need to get those numbers back up because that makes it a whole lot more fun. So far, some of the team names: Zach Osborne's is Bobby's Chompers. Our friend Lee is Solid Dollar Bills, y'all. What else we got so far? Daniel Jones repeating as Childish Firmino, which I think is one of the better ones from last year. So I haven't settled on one so far, but so far I've got Shaqiri O'Neary. They play on Shaquille O'Neal, obviously. So I'm not sure if I'm sold on that one yet. I might come up with a better one. But join our league. We need you to join because we are desperate for friends. So
Please.
That's the best sales pitch, right? Desperation.
Yeah, people respond to that.
They respond very well. Before
Make
I
us
actually,
relevant.
I'd like to plug our new sponsors.
yeah, Andrew, please.
I'd like to plug our new sponsors, Apple TV, Jewel, and Nintendo Switch. Thanks for the free gear. If you would like a discount on any of those items, go to the website and put in you never TNA, and you'll get a discount. And this podcast is brought to you by FanDuel.
Yeah, there's going to be a new Allison flavored Jewel Pod released next month in association with our podcast.
Oh, God.
Joseph Craven has lent some of his DNA.
No, I have not.
You signed the waiver. You knew this was coming.
Tastes like salt.
You're the next best thing.
Oh, God. Can we end it? Can we end this episode? Alex, say what you wanted to say and then put us out of our misery, please.
Well, if you like those discount codes that Andrew just gave you, feel free to let the podcast service of your choice know by dropping us a review, smashing that bell, liking, subscribing. But in all seriousness, if you could do a review, that would really help, and you would be our friends forever. And as you heard earlier, we're desperate for friends.
Comment below.
This is it. Comment below. We're all pointing down.
Where are we dropping, boys?
Looking back on it, I really should have exercised more authority on ending this episode and not let you guys have free reign. But I'm glad that you guys did it. Thank you guys at home for listening to You'll Never Talk Alone. Tune in next week for our season preview episode. Shout out to Will Caves. We miss him.